Hello and welcome back to Gallifrey Stands, brought to you by the Doctor Squee Show feed. See your little badge there. I am Dr. Squee. With me somewhere running through the undergrowth is Willow. And joining me is...
Am I still Captain Jim on this?
I think I'm just going to call you Captain Jim on everything now.
Okay, fair enough then.
I'm Dr. Squee, you're Captain Jim. It just works. It's synergy.
It does. I also...
I'm thinking like the kind of like the Captain and the Doctor. It sounds like I think we could spin it into a bit.
I also have a dog, but she's very sleepy.
Oh,
she's not that interested in Doctor Who. There we go.
Oh, adorable though. And Suki,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't. I know you used to have two dogs, and I didn't want to say the wrong one because, like, I know what it's like. I miss my Dottie. Like seeing her in the credits there is always kind of a bittersweet thing. I like to keep her part of the family. Anyway, we are here because Doctor Who has returned, and I want everyone to know the fact that this isn't advertised or we're pre-recording it is nothing to do with the fact that I mistracked the date when Doctor Who was coming back. That's certainly not a thing. And I'd also like to apologize for the wallpaper. It is going as quickly as possible. Essentially, just a little update for anyone who cares about these things in the world of the Doctor Squee Show and the many podcasts underneath the umbrella, which include now Gallifrey Stands. We've got the Lynch Files, which is going to be on. I'm going to put this on later tonight, just for Jim's benefit. Tomorrow we'll have the Lynch Files. We're going to have, which is going to be part of the Director Files. So we're doing David Lynch, and then once we finish, we're going to do the complete back catalogue of David Lynch. Then we're going to pick a director, and ones which were maybe less prolific or more prolific than David Lynch. For as amazing as he was, we might just have to pick a few films here and there. We've got the Doctor Squee Show interviews. They're coming back this week. It's going to be a packed week in the world of the Doctor Squee Show. And you may see some changes other going on. For instance, that credit sequence, as fun as it is in the wrong format. I'm painfully aware. We're just going to spruce everything up, but that's going to take some time. So please do bear with us. Things are going to look better, including this wallpaper. This whole room's getting done, but that's not important right now. We're here to talk about Doctor Who, Season 2 of Doctor Who 2003. It's like the third era of Doctor Who, and it is the Robot Revolution. That's going to be a bit of a mouthful, all that. But Season 2 of Newer Who. Newer Who? Let's go. Oh, the Bronze Age of Who? What do you reckon, Jim? What do we call it?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's Season 2, but it's also like Series 15 or something, and also Series 41 or something.
Yeah, I'm going to go with your maths. I cannot work that out quickly.
I think I read it. I read it somewhere. I think that's maybe right, but obviously I'm happy to be corrected. It's weird. It doesn't feel like the advertising has been consistent about this whole.
No.
This is a new version. Like I got it when it came back. With Christopher Eccleston going, okay, we're restarting the numbering. That made sense. but I don't feel like there was a big enough gap to justify that this time. It seemed more of a business decision, like
Yeah.
we've got this Disney deal, so let's pretend that it's a brand new start, but it isn't. It's very much a continuation. But if they want to call it season 2, we'll call it season 2.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's I think the problem they had was this. It's like not only like you say, were they rolling it straight on pretty much after there wasn't a very long gap, but you also had the fact that RTD, and I think this was a great decision for the 60th anniversary, and it's the 60th anniversary, so it's kind of hard to then sell it as season 1 when you're celebrating that. And you've also got the fact that you're bringing David Tennant back, which is certainly more connected to the traditional story.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you wanted to do really is have like, right, we're going to start off with 3 specials. They're going to be supernumerary. So if like you're in the UK, you can consider them part of the old story. We'll put them in the new housing on iPlayer because that works with the Disney deal. Because fair enough, Disney have just bought into this, so they wanted theirs sectioned off, if you will. They want it to be a more complete story. But I just say it's like yeah, these are 3 prologue ones, which kind of give you a bit of a thing of the last 60 years. And you could have even dialed that a bit up for the 60th anniversary, because as fun as they were, I think a lot of people were saying it just didn't feel like you got the kind of celebration of the 60 years.
It didn't, no.
Certain like of the David Tennant basically storyline, which is again, that's fine. But I think by the end of that, yeah, you dial up a few of the references back. You don't have to do a multi-doctor story, but maybe just have a nod to each of the doctors, which I don't feel like those 3 adventures was. And like you got 3 adventures, you got 3 hours. It's easily enough time to do a bit more of that. Like have pictures of one of them on one, have a outfit of one of them in the background. Like little things like that, which would have felt like a tie-in, and maybe the Doctor kind of using that as part of his journey to realize that this is the end of one journey. Then you have the regeneration, the oh my god, like it's like I've got rid of all that grief. Then you have the beginning of Ncuti's journey being a bit more of a departure. I think just a little bit more delineation, and it wouldn't have taken much. It would have still felt like the same story, but a different story at the same time, and that would have satisfied both masters, if you want.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it doesn't bother me what they call it really. But it doesn't feel like a new show in that sense, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about this lots. Like a lot of it feels like a return to Russell T Davis's first run, but
Yes.
with a bit of a different flavour to it. But yeah, regardless of what they want to call it, the other thing, like you said there at the start about not necessarily knowing what day it launched and everything, I think that speaks to how low key the launch of this season has
Yes.
been. Like, I think even for sort of casual fans of the show, certainly last season when it launched, it felt like it was being heavily publicized. It felt like there was a bit of a buzz around it. And this week, like, I sort of knew it was coming back sometime in April, and then I saw on the front of the TV guide Doctor Who, and I'm like, oh, it's this week. And I consider myself a step up from like a more casual fan. I think I take an interest in Doctor Who and generally follow it, and it still seemed to slip under the radar a little bit, which just seems a little bit odd considering how much money the BBC puts into it and Disney puts into it. And Doctor Who is like a national institution, and yeah, it just seems the most low key return that we've had, I think, throughout the since it came back. And that's weird now when you talk about, oh, since it came back, it's like 20 years ago now. Like, new
I mean,
Doctor Who's getting to be old Doctor Who now, but I know
oh,
what I mean when I
completely.
say that.
Oh god, that ages me every time I realize how long it's been. But yeah, no, it's I forget if it was it could have been Sophie Aldred or Billy Piper or some other. Like I remember it was one of the companions, I believe, and they said it's like if you're in the UK, you're born knowing what a Dalek is. That's just your starting
Hmm.
point. And that feels very true. And it's like, yeah, like you said, it's a British institution. I think if anything, it seemed to do, like, I know people bemoan the figures over here, but actually they were a lot healthier than they have been in recent years. It's probably not enough to the investment from Disney. And I think the problem Disney's having is there are definitely huge veins of Doctor Who fandom in America, but it's not on the scale it is here. And like those people do love it, don't get me wrong. And it is very marketable over there. But when it takes a hit over there, it seems to take a bigger hit in the viewing figure. Like, it's a bigger scale, basically, we're working
Yeah,
on. And I just think that it's like, it feels like because season 1 didn't go down so well in America, didn't go down so well on Disney Plus or internationally, whatever it was. It's like it seems like the BBC are now like going say, oh, maybe we won't advertise it. Maybe we'll just let it like see what this one does. Let it just go out, even on the BBC iPlayer, because it was literally when you messaged me yesterday, and I can't believe this happened to me. And it kind of like this, it made me feel a little bit sad, but it's like, it's what it is. It's like, I love Doctor Who, but it doesn't mean every era has to be kind of for me. But it was when I was looking for it yesterday after you went, oh, have you seen it? I go, oh shit, yeah, that's this weekend. It's like due to the way they do it over here. It's launched at midnight in America, and that's midnight here, which is whatever time of the day in America. And I went on the iPlayer and like I looked for it, and it was halfway down before I found it. It was probably somewhere in the scrolling thing at the top. I didn't see it, and it was like at least 3 other shows which appear first, because I was waiting for a while for that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll look down. And it's like, no, not there.
Whereas last year it was
classic Doctor Who before the first one of this.
Yeah, like last year it was splashed all over the interface. Like, anyone not from the UK listening, but similar to Netflix, where you get whatever the new release is sort of right at the top. And last year for Doctor Who, it was like you switched iPlayer on and boom, there it is, Doctor Who.
And it had it as the Whoniverse.
The Whoniverse, yeah. And then, the next few tabs were all classic Doctor Who, whatever we're calling the revival Doctor Who, and then this version of Doctor Who, and then all the spin-offs and blah blah. But like you say, it was kind of. I don't think this midlight launch thing helps really in terms of the British side of it. Like, it used to feel like an event every Saturday or Sunday during the Chibnall run. And it did become a thing, was like everyone would watch Doctor Who at around tea time on a Saturday and then talk about it. And I think having it on streaming, it does, and this applies to many shows, not just Doctor Who, is people watch it at different paces. So like, we have various geeky chat groups, and what will invariably happen is one person will say, has everyone watched Doctor Who? And then people say, oh no, I don't want any spoilers. And so you don't talk about it. And then by the time everybody's watched it, the person who wanted to talk about it's kind of over it. And so I think it doesn't create that buzz and that conversation as much.
Agreed. So I was just going to say, it's like, and the thing is, it's like even in America, which kind of like launched the binge TV and things like Netflix, they now have quite like more and more streamers have more shows which go out a thing at a time. Netflix tends usually to be if they've got a deal with someone, so it's not completely theirs. They still tend to do kind of binge box sets, but even then there was something called The Ranch, and with Ncuti and a few other things over there which they've started doing. It's like The Ranch Part 1, Part 2, like they've started releasing it in chunks, so they kind of get the best of both worlds, which isn't too bad. Then if you've got 3 or 4 episodes, chances are people are going to rattle through them quickly. They can talk about them straight away. Things like on Channel 4 they had Adolescence, which on their Channel 4 you could watch them all. I think if you had 4+, like whatever thing it was, like there's I think we're kind of finding a middle ground between, and we are getting more and more kind of episodic. I think this was probably the midnight release this year is probably due to the way they contracted it, that this is how
I'm
it's going to
sure.
happen. The only thing which I was very thankful of, which as we get into the episode, after I just see if there's anything else you want to kind of sort of add to this, but the thing I really kind of was thankful for watching this episode. I'm not saying everything, and I'm not saying this will continue the rest of the series, but I hope it does. It feels like from this first episode, even though the two series were done back to back, there were some things from the first series of Ncuti, which I could have done with getting rid of, and it seems like they weren't that popular. Like there's course corrections needed between series sometimes. I'm not saying the first series or season was bad, but like there were things which needed correcting, and this seems to have done it already with quite a few bits. Like this is a much better opener, I thought, than Space Babies, even though that was
I
kind of
agree. Yeah.
It tonally it feels a bit different. I'm hoping, like sometimes showrunners do, even if they're doing series back to back, they purposely give it a different tone. And maybe he was even conscious of that, where he's doing back to back. It's like, well, if this doesn't sell, better give them a few other tricks. I don't think RTD is thinking a lot that way, judging by some of his decisions, but I do think he like I'm hoping this means that we're going for a more adventurous tone in this series and less bogged down with some shit with the gods and everything. And this even though it adds some huge plot holes and some things which really weren't explained, which annoyed me still, it wasn't as egregious as some of the first series massive, like, well, why the fuck was she appearing to herself as an old woman?
Yeah, nothing like that yet. And hopefully we won't get that quite as much. But I do think there's things in this episode that not in and of themselves are not necessarily bad things. But I think after having, was it 4 series of RTD the first time around, and this is his second one this time around, there's definitely motifs and storytelling choices that he likes to revisit, and I'm not sure if maybe he needs to try something a little bit different. There's certainly things that feel done, but you never
Yes.
know. You never know how it's going to turn out.
Well, it's like as I mentioned before, we're doing the David Lynch files, which you can catch tomorrow at 6:30 UK time. Which in that we talk about kind of the motifs which Lynch visited throughout his entire career, like even up to The Return. It was really interesting watching some of his earlier work and going, oh my god, that's in The Return, like Twin Peaks: The Return, like not just the first one. Like they're so bookends to his career that kind of there's still stuff you're kind of revisiting, but it never feels like a retread. I feel like, or very rarely, I don't want to say never because we haven't finished watching them all, but with RTD, yes, some of these things like that little robot clean up. I mean, just fuck off. Sorry, it's just he's done that so many times. I get it, he likes the cutesy robot, but it just seems like a copy. It's just not entertaining. I'd say, like I get you find it hilarious, Russell. It's like with the Mavity thing, he was boasting on every news outlet which would listen to him that how genius it was. Oh, and it's going to stay forever, and I just love it. It's like, why are you so gleeful that your audience is pissed off? Because I'm sorry, like I'm not saying no one likes the Mavity thing. I enjoyed it to begin with, and I leave even a back reference here and there, but it's like that series, it was just Mavity, like fuck it, like anyone who is enjoying the joke isn't anymore. Sorry, by the way, this might get a bit sweary for anyone who to the show. But yeah, no, that kind of thing is what I could do with less of. But like, shall we get going with the episode?
Well, just before I can't remember if it was on this show that I called this, but I'm going to double down on it. Christmas special this year coming up.
Yep.
Wicked 2 will have just come out at the cinema. We're going to have the Doctor singing Defying Mavity.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God, no.
It's going to happen.
Don't do it to me.
It's going to happen.
James,
it's right there. It's right there.
There isn't enough to be anxious about in this world. You've got to throw that into my head, for fuck's sake. That's nightmare fuel. That is right there.
I mean, if nothing else, I think Ncuti will be able to hit the notes.
Oh, he'll be great. Don't get me wrong. He'll be delightful. Of course he will. He always is.
But yeah, the Doctor's going to go to Oz in the Christmas special, and they're going to sing Defying Mavity.
Sorry, do you mean we're in Australia? Not that, Oz. That'll be the end of the. Oh, for Christ's sake! It writes, unfortunately, itself.
It does write itself.
Once you've got the idea, yeah, and it may as well have done anyway. Let's not think about that right now. So we open on our new companion Belinda and Mr. Incel walking stereotype. Now,
Yeah.
we'll get into this a bit as we go into the episode, but I do feel like he's a little too obvious. It's
Yes.
they throw in a lot of big incel kind of like correct terms, and I think that's the problem. Is like RTD always used to want, because he's so respectful to different communities, and that's a great thing, but because of that he always wants to use the correct terminology and everything, which if you're keeping it light, like I think there is a way to address these huge matters which are so important to the day, yet to do it lightly, so that maybe very young viewers who aren't ready for it don't notice it, and older ones can pick up the story, and it's done so subtly later. This hits you over the head, uses terms which kids will not understand.
Yeah, that thought did cross my mind. Like, Daddy, what's an incel? Oh, okay, little Jimmy, let's. And yeah, there are ways of doing it. Like, you can present this character that's clearly an asshole and is clearly using coercive control and everything else, and you can tell that story. But like you say, maybe dropping the terms like he does is maybe gonna open up some conversations that you might not want to have with very young children. I mean, I think it's ambitious to handle a subject like this in what is otherwise a pretty fluffy, fun romp that we've got going on in the episode. Though, like you, I thought, particularly in this opening scene, the portrayal of the Alex, was it? Alan. Um, it was a little bit too on the nose. Like it was to the point that you were just like, well, why would she even be giving this guy time of day?
I
Like
think they showed her being a bit shy. Maybe that was what they were playing on, but it's like you said, it's like,
maybe.
I mean, and again, like that I suppose I don't mind so much, just because like we all make some very dumb relationship choices, not only when we're young. Uh, I think you wouldn't mind me saying, between you and I, we've had some cherry ones over the years. Just going to be as general as that, not name anyone or any time specifically. So anyone watching this, you're not allowed to, if you're spying, just not allowed to get involved. Anyway, so I think that one I could sort of understand. Poor relationship choice, but it's like it's one of those things whereby it's like you've also got to think this was filmed a year ago, and Adolescence, which just came out, is very timely for the discussions happening now. Even that, to have that in the works, they must have, I think, been more aware of it before it kind of really hit the headlines in recent years. I think Trump's victory in America and what you think, that's when all the stories started to come to the surface. It's believed to be a large reason why he won, because he appealed to, incel types. I'm sorry, I don't like, I'm not saying all Trump fans or anything, but it's like, that's there. Anyway, so for RTD to pick up
an intersection in the Venn diagram, isn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, like, so for RTD to have brought that in, again, I applaud his efforts. And the thing which kind of queers the thing which you and I are both saying about, like, for having them go into it so much for a young audience, the danger is that the young people are being radicalized. However, I think you want to get it so that if they've already had some things brought up to them and it's already being in their lives, that they'll pick up on it. But if it hasn't, they won't. And this just like, it's just gonna ask too many questions of kids who don't know about it, who aren't affected. And is it fair at the same time to sort of bring them into that world, endanger them with those terms? It's like, okay, this episode handles it very kind of like responsibly. However, if they just hear the terms, then they don't right and do their own research. Could go the wrong way?
And I think maybe part of it is the weightiness of the subject is difficult to convey in the format of a 45-minute sci-fi show where you've got to have a story about robots and spaceships as well. So what I mean by that is, like, if they're trying to portray this character as an incel who is trying to use coercive control over this woman during a relationship with her, that is a subtle process of one party breaking down the defenses of another party gradually over time, and both parties' behaviors changing over a period of time. And that is something that's very difficult to convey on screen anyway, but especially difficult to convey on screen when you've effectively got 2 minutes with this character at the start of the episode and, spoilers, a few minutes with this character at the end of the episode. And so I suppose as a writer, you have the question, well, how do I show it? And the way is to show it in a bit of an over-the-top cartoonish way, but then you start to walk the fine line of, well, are we giving this the justice it deserves if we're going to cover such a weighty topic? So for me, this opening sequence, it didn't quite land. It almost seemed like a comically over the top portrayal of that sort of behavior, and I'm not sure that's a healthy way into that discourse for
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure really whether that belongs as a Doctor Who villain in what
Well,
otherwise is quite a fun episode. I'm not saying it's totally bad. I don't think it was, and there were things I really liked about it that we'll get to later in the
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not sure this worked.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think yeah, I think it was a lot. It was ambitious, and you didn't really, like you say, this was meant to be, I think, at heart, a light-hearted romp of an episode.
Mm,
The adventure, which I really wanted from the first series, I just want some fun adventures, which had some logic to them. That's all I wanted, and it kind of really didn't quite get there. There was too much unexplained. There was too many things shoved into every episode, which I felt with this. Like, if you got rid of the incel stuff, the story works much better. You got more time. Like, RTD's become very bad at kind of like you say, we see this character at the beginning, we see him right at the end, and that he does that so often with characters now. Like we have this other character which we'll get into. In fact, may as well just say him now because it's like he's in two scenes. Oh god, what's his name? The guy Seb, is it?
yeah, the guy who's just randomly
Yeah,
pissed off with her, and then
yeah. So Seb basically comes on, goes, "Oh, so you Queen of England? Oh, yes, Your Majesty." It's like he knows the situation. He knows that she's just been kidnapped. He knows that she hasn't been on the planet so far. He knows the robots were like there's nothing to suggest he doesn't know everything that's going on, if not it being expressly said that he does. But then he has a go at her like she's been there bossing around the whole time, which makes no logic sense. Like, as far as he's concerned, she's a stranger. Like, they don't suggest that her picture, like if her picture had been everywhere, she was sold as this over. I would understand how you could build up a resentment without even meeting her, even if it's not logical. If they'd given more reason, but no, he's just against her, just for him to appear at the end and going, "Well, Your Majesty." It's like, fuck off. I'm sorry. Why do we care what he thinks? Like, why is he so angry, and why is he suddenly so okay? And you've given us no reason to care what he thinks either way, because you've shown him twice for a total of like
yeah,
a minute.
I think that's the problem, is we're not being given reason to care about this character. And the Doctor, the character of the Doctor in Ncuti Gatwa has a lot to kind of carry with the setup of this episode. It's like he's
Yeah.
been there 6 months, he's developed relationships with these characters, and he's got to convey that somehow in a very short space of time, and he's got to sell us on these relationships, and
Yeah.
maybe that was one character quirk too far to fit into the narrative, really.
I think there's
Like,
lots of that though. That's the problem. We've got too many things. Sorry.
no.
So you were saying, mate? That just
No, I
incensed me.
was just I was going to say, I think the other character, the one, is it Sasha, that he talks about being close with, and he's upset when she dies and everything. I think that worked better. But yeah, this guy who's just randomly angry, it didn't
No, I
feel
agree.
earned.
Yeah, it was just so mad. Sorry, I'm getting annoyed with my own background. Just too much crap. Anyway, that's not relevant. Like, I thought this setup with the let's go back into a bit more chronological order. So you got to set up with a star. Nice, just there, great. Like, you know something's going to happen because it's a star named after her, but it isn't obvious what. That I thought was great. She did have that thing about being called Miss. I think partly that was to reveal the thing later. I'm worried if we're not worried, but I'm sorry, wondering. Pardon me, that was the phrase I meant. If we are going to go through a thing of her questioning her gender, I wonder if that's just because. See, this is the thing. This is very quickly. I'm not going to get into this too much because it's been much debated. But it's like, I do think RTD, again, the way he does things sometimes is a bit over the head. I'm all great with kind of like, I love the stuff with New Rose and her being trans in the 60th anniversary ones. That was, I thought, very well handled. But some things I don't know. Just when I heard this, I go, oh, like, it's not as in I've got a problem with that character having gender questions. Fine. But it's like, it's when I start seeing the sledgehammer, it's like, and I hate when people, it's sort of like, what's annoying to me is there's some people who, no matter what, the second you have any representation on screen, they accuse you of hitting over the head with a sledgehammer. So when I feel like that is happening, it's annoying because as you say, you sound like one of those wankers who I don't agree with. But I think he does sledgehammer it. He doesn't make it as natural as he does in some of his other work, and even in past Doctor Who, and even in the 60th special, it seems like as he was writing, he became worse at the sledgehammer.
Yeah, like the example I'd go back to again is the Mavity and the Isaac Newton, having a person of color play Isaac Newton. And on one level, I have no problem with that whatsoever. If you want to cast a person of color, even as a historical character who wasn't of color, fine. It doesn't bother me. I don't watch it and I don't get angry about it. Some people do, and those people throw at you, well, it's silly because Isaac Newton was white, and you have absolutely no comeback to that because you have to go, well, yes, it is a bit silly because you're right, it was. And what annoys me about that is that I'm someone who I want to be able to argue in favor of representation on television and everything, and in that specific example, there isn't a comeback to that. You go, yes, they've deliberately chosen to cast someone of color as a historical character who wasn't. There is no reason for it. Okay.
I saw back and forth a bit on it because, like, I mean, one thing which we talked about on the show, I can't remember if you or I know. I remember Anna Stevens was on. I think it was maybe with you anyway. We talked a bit about this and about the Isaac Newton and all, and it's like, to me, a question is like there are things of equality. There's things of how someone's treated based on their color of their skin then and now. That does raise some relevant questions. So the race of someone can be relevant. In that scene, it wasn't particular, but seeing as Doctor Who's a show which does delve into those issues sometimes, especially nowadays, which is as it should be, they're correct questions to talk about. But it's like, if you say you're going colorblind with casting, then it's sort of like, I don't know, that for me was the only thing I thought. For a while I was like, yeah, but actually, if you think about it, like skin color, like if it was like the person whose cast sometimes doesn't look that much like Ian McNeice as Churchill. He was a fantastic Churchill, but if you look at his face shape and everything, he didn't really look like Churchill. He was just
No.
a larger bald guy who kind of fit the mold, and he did a great version. But then it's like, again, it's like this is the back and forth thing of it all. But people's face shape and eye color, whatever else, isn't called into question in the same way that race is.
No,
So
it's
again,
not. And as I say, like I don't have a problem with it. The problem I have with it is that if one of these idiots kicks off about it and says, "Well, Isaac Newton wasn't black," I can't have a comeback to that. I can say, "Look, I have no problem with them casting someone like that," but fundamentally, the point you are making is correct, and I don't like it when these people get to be correct because most of the time they are wrong.
And I don't want to do a straw man argument, because I'm tempted to say it's like, yeah, but that guy was 6 foot. I believe Isaac Newton was 5'7". Like, I don't know these heights, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to use an example like that, but that's disingenuous because that's not considered the same way race is. So it's like, it's a relevant factor, I think, sometimes.
Like, back to the general Russell T Davies issues that he likes to raise things. It's like you say, when it's so blunt and so obvious, and it can put people such as, you know, ourselves, and not to big ourselves up too much, but I think we are generally pretty progressive people, and it does put you in a position where you go, that is kind of bad writing.
And just add, sorry, just because you raised something very important, I just want to kind of co-sign. I believe we're quite progressive, but we're also progressive enough. Like, you and I are always saying, it's like, hey, if we've got this wrong, please tell us. Like, please do.
Absolutely.
Like, this isn't going out live, but if anyone leaves comments on this, we'll read them later. Well, I certainly will. I won't give James that homework, but if there's anything kind of like I will share comments with James, which I, like you can said.
Yeah.
We're not, it's not as if we shy away from being corrected. And I think that's the difference. Like, it's people who just go in with, this is what I think, this is my ideology, so I'm going to bend everything that's said in this show, which is equality forward, to prove my point. Whereas we go in with, hey, this is what I thought. Like, if we're wrong, tell us. Like, I think that's where we're progressive, but it doesn't mean we think we're always right. I just want to add that, because I know you think
not at all.
You know that too.
Absolutely. And like, this is something, actually, we will talk about this episode at some point, just I think because it's the premiere, you get to talk about broader things, but that conversational part of it, I think, looking at Russell T Davies's body of work over his whole career and a lot of the interviews he does and things, I think he has a tendency to not encourage conversation. I think sometimes he has a tendency to say, "This is what I'm doing, like it or lump it," and I think that puts people's backs up sometimes as well. And I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to tell stories the way he wants to do. He absolutely does. But I also think if you're gonna play with these ideas, which are big ideas that touch society in lots of different ways, I also think you've got to be willing for the conversation that's going to open up. And I think sometimes, I don't know the man, I don't know what he's like in his personal life, but certainly I feel his persona that he puts out there tends to shut down conversations rather than start them up sometimes. And I don't think that's a very conducive stance to take when you are discussing these issues. And it is a tricky one, because like I saw a big thread today on Facebook about this episode, and it was the usual rubbish that people were coming out with. It's too woke, it's this, it's that. But it does just end up with people very, very polarized, and there's no actual conversation going on. It's just mudslinging and name calling.
And let's face it, those are the tools which are so chicken and the egg. Was it the fact that we became polarized, and then a place like Russia and China putting propaganda out there then seized upon it, or did they sow that to create that? Like, I think it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. However, it's that thing of like we are going through a period right now where whatever we may think personally, the left, there is a conception that we can be very patronizing, we can shut down conversation, like you're saying. That is the prevailing view of people on the left. It's like, it's not that necessarily, you see, the right try and use that, I think, in their kind of like the way they talk about it, as if like it's because people hate any diversity and stuff. No, people just hate being told they're wrong and not starting conversation, as you say. I genuinely think, I'm not excusing people who are kind of like God knows, like all the immigration stuff, everything, everything's turning pretty dark and pretty right wing. I'm not excusing any of that, but I'm just saying, having conversations with someone's more likely to make a difference to that than to preach to someone why they're wrong. Puts people back up, people get defensive. Everything you're saying that RTD's doing, I think, is something which generally I think people who are liberal have to reckon with a bit. Just because we believe we're right, even if we know we're right, we'll go that far. We know we're right, but that's the problem. We're coming across as we know we're right, not we think we're right. And here's our reasons why. And I'd love to hear why you think what you think, and then I can debate you with that. And it's like, that's how we used to do it. And now it's like, no, this is what's right. And it's like, again, like, you do have to stand by your values, but how you present them more so matters.
Yeah, and weirdly, I think this extends, like, taking the politics and everything else out of it. I've noticed general discourse around media tends to just go down this route, like say Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is obviously a very polarizing film. So few people will have a conversation around that film. What happens is people go, it's shit, and then someone else goes, oh, I quite like it, you're wrong. And that's it.
Yeah.
No one talks about the film. It's so strange.
That's all right.
So I don't think this lack of conversation is exclusive to politics.
Oh God, no. No, you're totally right, mate. Just want to cough and fit off on with I
Apologies.
think that's it's like, I mean, I have conversations. I try not to bring it up like literally every podcast. I do try every now and again to veer away, but I'm gonna bring the letters ADHD. So like the fact that obviously is a conversation I have more now than when I wasn't diagnosed with it. I still hear kind of like it doesn't exist. That still people say to my face, and it's like, sometimes just because they don't know, sometimes they do, and they're just being a dick, whatever. But like I always go, it's like, well, I mean, I've got it. I was medicated for it, and since I've been medicated, I can point to loads of things I've done that I wasn't doing before as in achieving things. This time the others become more healthy for me. I recently started therapy. There's so much movement and so many things have changed. So what to you then? Do you think that's psychosomatic? Like, and I'll start like a conversation, not like, even though that person is, even if they're baiting me, even if they're blatantly just saying the thing that affects me doesn't exist just to try and piss me off, I'd still rather come in and it's like, well, here's my evidence why I think it is the thing. What say you? And like sometimes they'll come back with some stuff and it's like, oh well, yeah, but like suddenly everyone's getting it now. I go, well, people are getting diagnosed. If suddenly you're testing this many people compared to this, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's a way of still making my point, but not shutting down a conversation, but opening one up.
Yeah.
And if someone's being a dick, they're usually like, oh well, okay. And you see them realizing they were just trolling you for no good reason. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and you're not right to it.
And
minds.
And there's a lot of that in the discourse around Doctor Who and other fandoms as well. Star Wars, Star Trek. It really is quite ridiculous. But I mean, this one, I would like to think that on the issue of incels and coercive control, surely that's not too controversial a subject. I mean, you'd have to contort your argument quite spectacularly to argue that no, the guy in this is right. He's the good guy.
Yeah, but the worst thing is they're going to say, "Oh, well, that's for like no, oh god, people aren't really like that." Whereas like there's people a lot worse. Like they've shown some very mild examples in this, And it's like, still, I bet you there will be people in the same kind of denial because it wasn't talked about when they were a lad. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thinking will still always be there. And it's those who once, I mean, again, I really like to think, and I've seen this over my life of talking to people about kind of differences and how people are different. And I used to talk about dyslexia, and just like it's having those conversations. Really, a lot of people are making flippant comments. You can sort of like, the people quite quickly who will make a flippant comment
Yeah.
and who are better than that comment, and the people who are making that flippant comment and will fucking double down on it all the way to home, and just, oh, okay, you're just a dickhead. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, you're shutting down me. You're just insulting me for no good reason. You've decided the thing I have doesn't exist. Like, and I'm only using, the only reason why I even bring that up at all is just because like that feels like mine to talk about, and I don't. Like when I've had a parallel experience to some stuff that someone else has gone through. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's like at least I feel somewhat of an authority to talk about it, if that makes sense. Whereas like these other things I'm talking about, like I've never had any particular issues around incels and stuff, but it's the same principle of how you tackle the debate, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as I say, this one, the incel part of it, which actually is a fairly small part of the episode, really. I know kind of the plot hinges on it, but yeah, it is something that is being talked about much more, and a greater awareness of it is out there now. I'm just not sure it works in the context of a what should be a fun Doctor Who romp, and for 75% of this episode probably is. It just seems a weird one to throw in there, I think, but.
And actually, we went down this rabbit hole because I said something which might not even play out, but like she just said that miss thing, and I was like, why does that bother her? The only reason I could think of it was
I
because
thought that
it might be just
was
layered in so you could have the reveal of him at the end. So it's something he said
maybe.
out, which then you can copy the dialogue. So it's one way or another. It seems like lazy rain to me again. I've got no worries. I've got no problem if if someone along she realizes that they're actually a they, no issue. But it's like if that was, I don't know. Again, it's like
I
just
thought
I want
maybe
it
it
to be a surprise
was.
when they do it.
Was it like. I read it as maybe tying in a little bit to the idea of misogyny, that a woman's
Possible.
marital status can be determined by the title that she uses.
Yeah.
But then I'm not sure what it was trying to say about that, if that was what it was
Well,
trying to
again, yeah,
say.
you see,
But
you throw something up and you don't give enough time to go into. Anyway, like I've taken us down that rabbit hole for too long. Very quickly, love the Doctor doing his like what's that over there, doing a sonic trick and fucking up and screwing up the computer system. Very nice little bit of Doctor Who. That felt classic Doctor Who. And I think this beginning bit feels very Doctor Who. I thought.
yeah,
We'll talk about later the fact that maybe it just sometimes my only problem is sometimes it feels not very Doctor Who, but we'll get into that. But the Doctor's dress, I really loved. Like we were talking about last season. If the Doctor's going to have a different outfit each episode, I'm going to talk about it. And I remember seeing the pictures of this dress suit, and in the pictures, I was like, she can wear anything, obviously, but it's like that
yeah, it
picture. I'm not
really
sure about
can.
that one. Seeing it in this episode, actually, like I got more what they were going for. Like I could see it was a dress version of a suit, whereas it's like in the photos, it didn't. I thought it looked much better on him, like as everything does, than in picture. I'm just surprised there was a picture with anything being worn by Ncuti where I didn't go, that's amazing, because anything else I've seen,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I can see why they've gone. I mean, first of all, it's an interesting idea to go with a Doctor who doesn't just wear the same thing every time.
Yeah.
But also, like you say, they've got that guy who seemingly can just wear anything and look awesome in it.
Yeah.
So, why
And that's the
not?
thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't ever want to like, because like, I mean, I absolutely love there was the leather jacket with the kind of, I think it was technically a kilt, but it's like, or a
Yeah.
tartan. Let's I don't know which one exactly it was, but that one. Oh, he looked amazing. Just it was a really cool outfit. It kind of showed a Doctor who was free of some grief and everything. Like kind of it played into the story, even the outfit. Yeah, this one was a very nice outfit. I just again in the picture, just I don't know, it looked better in movement.
And I like these introductions that they do in these new companion episodes where you get to see the companion doing their day-to-day thing, and then the Doctor
Yes.
just sort of breezes into their life. And I quite like, in terms of Doctor Who episodes where we start with someone else and then the Doctor comes into the story. Like, we don't start following the Doctor in. We get to see him coming from the outside, and that almost replicates the experience that a companion has or anyone else has, where they're living their life and then this crazy person bursts in and everything goes insane. So we don't. That's not the standard way we do a Doctor Who episode. Usually, it is reserved for these introducing new characters ones. But I do quite enjoy that conceit and that structure to an episode now and again.
And it's something which RTD talked about was the fact that he wanted it so that he always felt when he talked about like first bringing it back, he always wanted it so that it's like his only kind of like beef with the 1996 TV movie was because nothing that happened there would have happened if the Doctor didn't land. He likes it so the adventure's happening, the Doctor lands and steps into it. Like if the Doctor's the cause of it, it's well, if he wasn't there, there would be nothing. So I appreciate that kind of thinking, and I think that's what leads to this structure, which has been so notable. Like Rose, the first episode of 2005 Doctor Who, like that was through her eyes, and it was very much noticed by everyone that it was kind of it was bringing the attention to the new character, and then we kind of meet this mysterious Doctor, and it's great how it made the Doctor mysterious at a time when we really want him to be. Just very quickly, the only thing I was going to say is because it leads into my point a bit later is about like it's sometimes just not feeling as much like Doctor Who. That's the only thing I would say also about the outfit is like it's like I love the fact that again if you've got Shigawa, it looks great and everything, of course, putting him in everything. I would like kind of the touchstone of his outfit a little bit more often though, just because I feel like again, it's one of the touchstone which has always been there of Doctor Who. There's not that many really that you've got to kind of keep hold of. An iconic look seems one of them. Again, give him loads of outfits, but maybe just like pepper in 3 or 4 episodes of the series he wears the outfit. And then yeah, you've got other things like, you know, the TARDIS got to look like the TARDIS. You've got to like a police box. You've got to have the credits, got to have that tune. You know, there's certain things, and it's like, given that there are so few, like in this episode, you get the Sonic a couple of times, not too much. The Sonic looks different and seems to be featured less since the redesign. I don't know. It just seems like it's when the Doctor's using it, usually like he'll put it into something, then walk away from it, or he'll out and back in again. Whereas, like, I don't know, it felt like, pardon the choice of language, but it felt like when it was more like a long pole, the Doctor played with it more. And I guess like it was more theatrical as a wand. I don't mind the new look of the Sonic. I just think it sticks out a little less. And also the TARDIS disappeared for most of this episode. So, you know, a lot of any of the things which kind of ties this as Doctor Who. And I think at a time when you're spending more budget so you can have these fantastic, they're great, these fantastic views, but it's never been what Doctor Who was about. And I feel like those effects and everything should be in service of Doctor Who, not the leading drive of it, if that makes sense. And I think we're losing just a little bit of the iconography of Doctor Who. I would like to see that kind of bit addressed. So we got the robots. Jesus, we're so early in the episode. The robots look cool. But I'm a bit done with giant robots, which kind of look the same in all the
a little bit. I did enjoy them. I loved how they were very sort of retro looking and very much sort of like 50s adventure serials, almost like Flash Gordon, the Rocket particularly. And the robots had they looked a little bit like, what's it called, Baymax at a Big Hero 6, sort of little bit like that, but they had the emoji faces, which were good fun as well.
Well, we saw
It,
that like in Smile, for instance, and I think some other episodes. It's again those.
the
Mm,
I think if we're going to be really critical, and there's been nearly 1,000 episodes of Doctor Who now, so you're bound to reuse ideas at some point, but they
some
felt they felt of a piece a little bit with the other RTD things. Like there's a bit of sort of the slithing goofiness in there. There's a bit
yeah.
of the what are the rhinoceros geezers called?
The Rojo Toflo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's totally gone as the name of them. Anyway, a little bit
me
of
too.
that in terms of like the bulkiness of
Judoon.
them. Judoon, that's it. So they feel kind of like variations on a theme rather than something totally original. But I don't think you need something totally original every episode. We just
No,
needed an antagonist, and they looked good, and they looked cool, and they looked retro. So yeah,
I think I just need like again, it's that feeling of like, oh, I've seen this before from RTD. You've got a whole new era. You've got like even though like Millennium Effects, Neil Gorton, who I've spoken to for Gallifrey Stands back in classic Gallifrey Stands, he's the head of Millennium Effects. He was messaging out about like Millennium Effects being involved in this, but there's like a new studio they use. Millennium Effects, like so many years on, we've got a new kind of production company payrolling with Disney and being involved. And it's like you've got all these kind of new things, and you still go for something which kind of looks like the robots have since the reboot. I don't know. I just want it to look a little bit more unique, but I did love it. I did love the
yeah,
kind of fact they're big and bubbly and very classic. Like you say, you got that with the rocket. You even have a marriage in there, which kind of was made it feel a bit Flash Gordon to me because of
yeah. The
it's very classic serial
the
there.
city kind of looked very Flash Gordon,
There was
the
definitely a
80s
personal Flash
Flash
Gordon in
Gordon
there.
movie. Yeah, there was
Yeah,
definitely
no,
some
I
of that,
mean
which
that's
is,
fine.
yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I don't think it was like it wasn't a rip-off, it was an homage. I think this is fairly fair homage territory, and there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that. Sometimes you want to make someone feel a bit Flash Gordon this episode. That's absolutely fine. And I don't think that adds into what I'm saying about not feeling Doctor Who. It's fine. Like they've had in episodes which felt more inspired by another sci-fi, but it's always kept that Doctor Who edge, which anyway. They shot the cat, which Jesus Christ, I mean, I'm more a dog man, but
yeah, I didn't see
even I
that
was like,
coming.
are they not gonna show the cat? So Jesus Christ, they actually killed the cat. I was
No,
both
that was
impressed
it.
and kind of appalled at the same time. It's like
Yeah,
but well done.
that
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that until you reminded me. But yeah, I was like, whoa, you don't do that.
We have Miss Flood very briefly. Yeah, have a good time, dear. I did sort of like love that. I kind of love the fact that they are painting her, whereas she is obviously a some sort of like a baddie. I love the fact they're playing her really like a ditzy old woman's like, oh, okay, have fun with the aliens being queen of space. Like that is kind of fun. At the same
So
time, you've got like her talking to Cameron going, he won't see me. And I think that's definitely part of her powers. Just quickly before I hand over to you, there was a character in the audios called the Word Lord, which kind of, because of what he said, shaped the universe. And they were called Nobody No One, and you've got to it's sort of like a bit Mixicus Pigalick. You've got to get them to say their name.
okay,
Like nobody, no one stopped what they were doing. You've got to trick them into reading a thing.
right.
And this felt very much like that. So I think she is a narrator. I think hopefully they're not going to go too godsy on this series. I don't care if they ignore the gods, which they kind of did last series for most of the series, and then just at the end, she's one of them. And she's like the linking thing. I don't mind
Yeah, I'd
that. I
be up
just don't
for
want
that.
gods all over this again. I don't want to be another magic series. It's like, again, I get with an infinite universe and infinite realities, you can have a universe where magic is real, but that's all not where Doctor Who's ever lived. It's like it was originally, and again, I know it's changed so much over the years, and it's so many different things to talk to, but it started off as an educational show so that the past could teach you about history, the future could teach you about science. So when it goes to, oh well, this was just some magic, you don't really need to know why. I grimace a little bit. That is going away from what is core to Doctor Who for me.
Yeah, Doctor Who, it was always, it's not actually magic, it's aliens, and it's perceived to be magic. Like, even when they lent more into the sort of mysticism of it tended to be an alien. Like, I don't
Open
want
that
to.
it's like, oh well, here's the science, but I can't explain everything. Maybe it was a little magic. I
Yeah.
don't mind that kind of playing with it, but you can't just out and out get rid of science from Doctor Who, because genuinely, I learned so much about science from little things mentioned in Doctor Who and Star Trek. I learned about pi from the Five Doctors. I learned about linear time from Deep Space Nine, and linear, what the word linear meant even. I learned all this subtly as someone who just didn't go on with education, but these things came into my awareness and made me interested. So then when I heard pi again later, I was like, oh, that's like in Doctor Who. And it was exciting. And it's like, if you get rid of that, you're getting rid of that curiosity about, like, and again, it's fine to have shows which aren't about that, but that's Doctor Who has always been that.
I don't think it's a getting rid of it. I think it's there's this as well.
I think it's becoming more focused.
But yeah, I'd be happier, like you say. Yeah, if she turns out, I mean, the meta stuff with her, I don't know where they're going with that. So
I think that's I think it's a narrator's power.
Yeah, but then that, I don't know, that it gets into interesting ideas of, so therefore are we acknowledging that Doctor Who is fiction? Is she like Deadpool? Does she know that she's in a story but the Doctor doesn't? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out this season.
I think she's from another reality where stories are real and her narrator exists. So I think she's come like through that, when the Doctor basically suggested, because he made a wish at the end of the universe, that's why all this is happening, pretty much. So I think that unleashed her on us. That's my guess. Anyway.
So 2 things on her. One, does she just live next door to every companion? Because wasn't she Ruby's neighbour last series?
And I think that's part of the setup. Is like she's following the Doctor, so she
right.
So she said it's like, oh, and then she moved in next to Belinda, and that happened.
Right. So, but the doctor's not noticed her yet, so that's why the Doctor hasn't commented on how odd this is.
Because she says he doesn't see me again.
I thought she said you ain't seen me. I thought it was like the Fast Show, like
it wasn't. Sorry, it was worded more like that. Sorry, you're right. But
and that was it. Just reminded me of that guy off the Fast Show used to come on and go, "You ain't seen me." Right.
No, you're right. That was the first thing I thought. So I don't know why I misquoted it, because I thought.
So I hope that is it. Unless she does a different Fast Show catchphrase every episode, in which case I am.
Oh God, is that what she asked if her bum looked big in that?
That's it, yeah. And and there you go. That ties in with Ncuti being a clothes horse. Because suits you, sir. Suits you. There we go. We fixed it.
Yeah. Look, if this is the longest con for a fast show crossover, fuck it. Like, I mean, as a Doctor Who fan, I should object to that, but sorry, bring it. I have to say, it was so
Tony.
Oh my God, did you ever see the show when they did the spin-off Swiss Tony?
Yes, I did. It was really
amazing, so underrated. I can't believe it just disappeared after that. B, he did one of the best. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know, on the Vast Show, character called Swiss Tony, used car salesman, and in every one he had a metaphor for sex and selling cars, or something else, and making love to a beautiful woman. So it wasn't always about cars, but that's where it started. But there was one where he goes like, you had this kind of young guy in the Swiss Tony garage who was kind of like, he was our kind of like window into the world, like in that series. And he goes like, oh, I'm thinking of buying some children for my girlfriend. You got any advice, Swiss? It's like, well, glad you came to me, Bob. Buying jewelry for a woman is like look like making love to a beautiful woman. You might be tempted to shower with gold, but it's much more classy just to give her a pearl necklace. It was just perfectly crafted joke. Just genius.
And then what was brilliant was that in the last ever Swiss Tony sketch they did, I think he was called Paul, the assistant, and he came in and he went, Swiss, there's this beautiful woman. He said, I'm not interested. And he goes, no, she's beautiful. You need to come and see her. And he went, can't you see I'm having a nervous breakdown, Paul? And it just sort of made you feel bad about I've been laughing at this guy for years. And he's actually been, the reason he's been saying all this ridiculous stuff is because he's been going through something. I just thought that was such a deft bit of writing that it just made you feel guilty.
It's so inappropriate to a comedy. It's perfect. I love that. I watched that whole series. I must have seen it, but I've forgotten that.
Yeah, it was just brilliant, and it was just such a. It's like a bucket of cold water over you at the end. Like, how dare you be laughing at this man when he's actually been having a breakdown? Brilliant writing, the Fast Show.
Yeah, that's genius. I'm glad we didn't went down that Fast Show detail. Okay, so Belinda telling them to go after Anne, that comes back late. That was nicely.
It does
crafted.
indeed.
I thought the time travel like stuff. This is the thing which really annoyed me this episode, because there was some things which were explained and some things which were layered into the episode really nicely. There was so many clever things that when they then did stuff like in the last series of missing out kind of the details of how it works, it pissed me off more, because like, fucking, you were so close to make like this there was so much you put in which was clever here, and then you dumb it down, and that's what it felt like. I don't know if it's Disney.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe something would be interesting to see next series if RTD doesn't do so much of that, doesn't dumb it down so much, because there is a thing in American TV especially, they say it's like, hey, we want a 2-screener, like it's got to be a 2-screener, so it's got to be so when someone can get distracted by the phone and still follow the episode. They're writing it like that on purpose, and this felt a bit too screeny. And the more now, because I thought it was bullshit when people were like, there's certain things people have suggested that the BBC Disney Plus deal means that it doesn't, but it doesn't mean that they don't have any say and they haven't demanded certain things. I believe that, but it's the level to which some people went. It's like, come on, RTD, I'm sorry, but I think he's gone hand in hand with a lot of these decisions. He wanted a lot of this. He's been very
I think so.
But things like this dumbing down doesn't feel like him. There's no other thing of his I can point to that is this dumbed down. Like there's certain other excesses in Doctor Who which he does, which I see in it other of his works, like those are my favorite parts of him, but this seems uniquely to this era of Doctor
Who. The bit that really stood out for me was when the Doctor is sort of posing as the historian and he's trying to communicate with her and he's telling her that the robots don't hear every 9th word. And I've heard people complain about that, like, why is it every 9th? It doesn't really matter. He explains that the robots are malfunctioning. I can live with that. But they had a bit where he very pointedly emphasized every 9th word, and I pieced together what he was saying. But then
I think everyone did. I mean, you certainly wouldn't do anything extra to bring that joke home,
that's it. And then and then they play it back, and you're like, yeah, I know, I've been paying attention to what he said. Like, I didn't feel that
5-year-old
was
could get that.
because it wasn't like he did it really subtly. He sort of said, "Hey, Dr. Squee, how are you doing today? Blue." And how's Willow doing? Cherries. And you don't need a thing that says I just said blue cherries. I don't know why I said blue cherries, but so that bit I didn't feel was necessary. I felt like, trust your audience, they've got it. Or even if they've not got it, when they watch the episode back, they'll feel clever because they'll notice it the second time.
Yeah, and just before that, there's a bit where she says a planet called Belinda. Why wasn't that the episode name? Much better episode name.
That would have been a good episode name, yeah. Because also, I think we're running out of the robot something
Yes,
or the something revolution. Like,
exactly. We've had robots
surely,
so many times, and we've had revolution. Actually, I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point. We've had revolution loads of time. We haven't had a planet called Belinda, and it feels like a new Who episode name. I like every now and again they'll give an episode name, and I'll go, "Well, that's very classic." Kind of like, do you know what I mean? They'll do something stylistically, whether it's the name of the episode, whatever, which feels very classic. It's a nice little nod in there. And that would have felt like a nod to RTD, like Rose, the companion's name being part of it. And it called Belinda sums up this episode much better than the Robot Revolution, because Robot Revolution is in there, but it's not the
and
defining characteristic.
and also it wasn't the robots that were having a revolution, it was the people who were having a revolution against the robots.
I guess they had one 10 years ago, which is mentioned a lot.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right though. But yeah, I just think Planet called Belinda. Just sorry, it was right there.
But yeah, it's, you know, it's in a way it is your classic Doctor Who title. You know, it's the Daleks X, the Cybermen Y, the Sontaran Z. So yeah, the robot. But
yeah, it just seemed it wasn't enough of a reference, but it was too much of a thing which has been done
yeah,
before.
Planet called Belinda would have been much better. I agree.
So we've got oh yeah, the people talking, just a compliment, especially to the lead actress. Sorry, I should look this up and I can't remember her character name. The sort of spokeswoman before we bring on Ncuti. Oh, sorry, she's the one who almost becomes a companion, isn't she? Sasha,
Sasha,
when she's doing the kind of like coercively speaking, which I suppose that ties into the thing. I suppose the robots are coercing them, so maybe there is a bit more of a subtle thing. I didn't consider that until this moment, but I will give RTD actually that is cleverer than I gave it credit for. But when she's talking and the way she does it, that is very kind of nicely done. So it's like just enough for it to seem coercive, enough so that it doesn't seem like the robots would like. That was such a nice acting performance to like you could see she was uncomfortable, but not too obviously so. It was just very nicely pitched. So just a credit to the actor there. Wedding setup we mentioned. Great. Oh, the great robot, whatever he was called. Very cool look. Thought that was just very nicely done. But I will start this questioning here. Why would it call itself AI and not OWL when it is OWL? And who put the letters there? And why did they get confused? Because they must have got it from OWL. Where did the confusion come in? It's a written joke, which only works if they've never heard it, but they had to hear it to write it. So just fuck my job.
Yeah, I mean, after all the stick he got about Sutek last year, which wasn't an anagram, to go to that well again in the very first episode, and one that's even it's even more. No, it's not more laboured than the Sutek one was. That's unfair.
It makes even less sense, though. I mean, you can at least say,
yeah. I mean,
even if you're going to follow the adding an extra letter, which is a cheat, like even if you ignore that, you can sort of say it's like, well, at least no one wrote that down. Like someone wrote that down based on hearing it. Sutek, he was trying to disguise it. So even if he was shit at anagrams, we could actually blame him of being shit at anagrams.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, at least there is like there is a way you could reason that. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, it's not.
Every robot which knew what it was like before they wrote it down.
And it doesn't add anything to the episode. It could have just been called the AI, and it turns out that it's that guy. Like the fact that it's a play on a capital L and a capital I and a lowercase L, or a capital L. No,
oh, and the amount of times I've been called Lane, I get
it. A lowercase L, yeah, and but that adds absolutely nothing other than to make you go, Russell T Davies really likes pissing about with letters and thinking it's really clever. Like,
I think he was trying to build up the reveal, and again, I mean, okay, again, I've got to say it just because it's now perforating my mind even more. Yes, the coercion thing, and now the fact that it's him. now I've kind of thought of that, great. But it's like, if that isn't evident on first viewing, and also sort of like, again, the owl thing does that to that, like the coercive control, again, that's something you can realize later. I actually really like the fact that I only just realized that while we were talking about it. That I applaud. But I still think, yeah, Al does nothing, and it's like it's sort of like how it doesn't add to the reveal of him.
No, it doesn't at all.
It would have to give something, and
it's
again,
not.
what did he
Yeah,
forget his name as well? Or even if they had, like, maybe even when they put him in, if you showed them, you go back to the moment where they're like etching, and he goes, "Oh, that actually looks like AI." And like that's why they decided to do it. At least you'd have a fucking but I just get rid of it. Like there's no, you don't have to do that.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't add anything, and it just makes you think: can we stop prattling about with these word games now? Like, it has been diminishing returns, really. Like Bad Wolf when he did it in the first series,
Right.
it was great, and it was I remember talking about it down the pub when you got to about episode 6 and you'd started to realize, oh, they still keep cropping up. Like I'm not convinced that the reveal of why it was Bad Wolf made a lot of sense. It was just like, I just picked a phrase and that
There
became
wasn't
a thing.
a finding reason. You sort of needed Rose to be told that story as a kid, which I
Yeah.
don't think anywhere in there.
So, but that one was cool, and then using Torchwood in the second series, that was pretty cool. And then Mr. Saxon did make sense, and then the Sutek bollocks, and this one, whatever. So
I mean, it's like
just stop it now, Russell.
What,
Stop
while we're
it.
doing the laziness is, we may as well get this one out of the way as well. The whole thing of the companion being like, you meet them first in the future, they turn out to be something like with Rose, sorry, not Rose, Amy Pond seems to be the best example. It's the best version and the first version of that. We don't need it again. It's a similar way I felt about Joe Martin's reveal as Doctor. It just doesn't matter to me the same way that John Hurt did. I mean, I'm sorry. First of all, it's John Hurt, and I don't know Joe Martin in the same way I know John Hurt. She isn't as an established. It's not like you had Helen Mirren. That would be the sort of John Hurt equivalent more. So no offense to Joe Martin, great actor, but it's like it just didn't mean as much to me.
And also
The fact that we've done it and we're just doing it again, it's never going to mean the same again.
It didn't fit within the timeline. Like John Hurt, that there was an explanation for where that fit in the Doctor's timeline, whereas Joe Martin's Doctor's, but yeah, like this is another one, not just RTDs actually, because everybody seems to have had a go at doing this, where the companion is the most important person in the universe, and there's a mystical connection between them and the Doctor before they even meet, and they do almost hang a lampshade on it. They've got to go, what are you saying? It's destiny that we're being brought together. And I'm just watching it going, no, please don't be that. Please don't be that. Can we not? And if it is just that that's a descendant of hers and that's it, I'm happy with that. Like, can we just leave
I'd be
it?
happy with that if they had sort of the Doctor not mentioned, or like just it's like, even if it is that, now we're doing more what we did last series of like, but it turns out our mum's no one. It's like, well, he even said he copied it from Star Wars. So why? Because you've done, it's not like again, that's not homage. That's just taking and repeating the same thing. And B, at least in Star Wars, I think whether you like that reveal or not, I think they earned it. But it's whether or not you like it, that's different. But it's like, I think they earned enough of it. They did enough reasoning of like, well, her being no one and her choosing the Star Wars name, Skywalker name, that kind of makes more sense of why she did it. Again, you don't have to like it, but you can dislike it and still think the logic holds up. Okay. This, no logic, no kind of like, it doesn't, like, it being no one wasn't satisfying when we heard Ruby's mum was no one. It didn't give us anything. It just had us like, oh, well, we were just yanking a chain for a series.
Yeah, especially the way they'd set it up deliberately. They deliberately misled the audience to expect something else. And, in Star Wars, to use the example of Rey, there is very, very, very little in The Force Awakens to imply that Rey is anyone. I think there's a throwaway line where she says something like, "Oh, my parents left me because I've got a great destiny," or something to that effect. But there is all of the anticipation of, well, she'll be Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter or whatever it is. All of that was fan speculation, whereas the thing with Ruby's mum was the show as good as told you she was something important because it had people dressed in hoods and it had a pointing, and it was, to my mind, it wasn't playing fair with the audience to set it up like that and then go, no.
I mean, I would still say Star Wars was expecting you to have those questions, expecting you to think that. And I think the fact that Rey had some of those questions about her past, it opened up. But like, I would agree with you that it didn't do it in the same. Really, like it was like, but your mom's definitely something. Your mom's like they had hang a lantern on it in the way you say. But I would also not say that Star Wars wasn't hoping you would ask those exact questions.
No, of course it was, but there's a difference between giving you a space to speculate on something and walking you down that road. And I don't think Star Wars walked us as far down that road as last season of Doctor Who did.
That's fair. So we got just I love this. Sasha going, okay, you got to save Earth, then you got to take me to the stars. Okay, may as well have been someday when all this mess is over, I'm going to marry that gal. It was too World War II. That person's going to die in the next air raid.
2 days from retirement.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It was all of those. Every stereotype. There was even a Punt and Dennis sketch they did just after they'd done the Mary Whitehouse experience, when it was like, it was the different scenes from World War. They did a bit of stand up at the beginning, and then they cut to a scene. It's like, okay, but I really miss my dog. I can't wait to get back home and just live a life as a teacher, just like I was before this mess. Anyway, just about to go up in the bird into the sky, and let's see what happens here. Dead. They did several setups of that, and it just felt very much like that. And I felt it does cheapen it, the fact that, okay, I get it, the Doctor's been on there for 6 months, but we haven't. And it just felt like, this person dead, I'll go and Bell do. It's like he just picks the next person's hand. Like, okay, actually, in fact, I'll give him the fact that, we know that he's been there 6 months, and so we know that he's had time to get bonded with her. But the fact the next person just after she dies turns out to also be the one makes Bell seem a little bit like a consolation prize.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought was clumsy.
Even though we had in the dialogue and in the plot, he's been there 6 months, it didn't feel like he had that passage of time, despite him having longer hair, there didn't feel any weight to it. Like, I don't feel that it felt earned or it felt believable in a way.
We hadn't experienced it. We hadn't experienced it. That matters.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I just but again, even if we ignore that, then it still makes Belinda seem like the it's like, well, that person died. I was going to go on space with them, but I'm going to do it with you. And sort of, actually, that would have been a nice thing to add into her, because I like the fact that she was a lot more reluctant. I know we've had companions where they act like they're a bit reluctant, but usually they're fairly easily won over. She wasn't. She was like, and it felt like a more, like, this one I will actually give to RTD. Like, previously, I felt like his whole thing when they first brought Doctor Who back, was like, oh yes, but I knew what that day when the Doctor appeared would bring, and it would bring it with it death and destruction. It's like, he's still a hero, man. Like they oversold how kind of a foreboding figure he was. And I think that I didn't appreciate. Whereas, like, I thought the way they did it this time of her asking the questions, but not like the person who's in power on the side of good asking them. felt a bit more
Yeah,
natural. Like she's asking some fair questions. If you have the powers that be thinking the doctor's, mainly a danger, how are you switching that on and off? Willow has like, have you found a remote or something? There's obviously a loose wire, but it just like seems like Willow's just going bat signal, bat signal.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like, yeah. Say hello. You just see there.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's okay. I think me and Jim have got it. We'll leave Batman for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was nicely done. I thought. Doctor remembers the other blender. Doctor Nurse bit fun. It reminded me a bit of Smith and Jones. Doctor and
Yeah,
Nurse.
I liked that, and I liked how sort of independent she was. Like as soon as they got back to these barracks, she was like, "I'm a nurse. I'm off to do nursey stuff." She's not just waiting around for the doctor to tell her what we're gonna do next. It's like, no, here I go.
Well,
And yeah,
so just to pulse your point, and then I'll let you go on with it. But it's like Belinda asked. I put this in the, Belinda asked if the shoulder in the same place, acts like a nurse, and learns about the X-ray blankets in one paragraph. That was really well written. Told
yeah,
a lot about
really
her in one
well
piece.
done.
Just to your point. Sorry, back over to you, man.
It was almost like it broke up the expected flow of the episodes. It's like, right, the Doctor and the companion are together. The Doctor's going to explain everything, and the companion's going to listen. Whereas she's like, no, I've got a job to do. I'm doing this, and we stay with her, and the Doctor's gone off screen, and it's almost like we've got to wait with her until she's ready to talk to the Doctor. Like the Doctor isn't the center of her universe, which
Yes,
is an interesting
good point.
dynamic to have. And I like the stuff that she brings in later on where she's like, well, you non-consensually scanned me. Like, that's not right. And I think
That
she
was
calls
nice.
him dangerous at one point. And obviously they're going to become friends. You know, that we don't want a Doctor and companion who hate each other, but I like that she's starting it
That's a good
from a
point.
position. She's starting from this position of, okay, this crazy adventure's just happened to me, but that does not mean that I'm joining you on your adventures. Like, you take me home, I'm done. This has been interesting, but
I mean,
and I like
even
that. It's a new dynamic.
she even says like the way she words it is like, I'm not one of your adventures. So like,
Yeah,
I'm not one of you, because when that sentence started, I'm guessing most other people, and it was set up so you were meant to like hear in your head, companions is how that sentence is going to end. It sounded very
yes,
much like it was set
definitely.
up to say that, and she said adventures, which even like it's one step further. It's like, I'm not only not one of your companions, you consider your companions just an adventure to be had, not
Yeah, yeah.
person. And like you also had it in Shooty's reaction when he's apologizing. It was so well done. Not only
Mm,
was it perfectly in the voice of the 15th Doctor, it sounded sincere enough, but too polished, which was great because I think he does mean it,
mm.
but he said it so many times he just sort of forgets what it means sometimes to an extent.
Yeah,
And that was
and I
all
think,
all in there, and it was in that same type writing as they done introducing her, showing who she was, and also it's an evolution because back in the day, Mel's a really great example in Doctor Who. She was Seventh Doctor companion. She was a computer engineer at the very beginning, infancies of that being a career in the 80s, and it gets mentioned and never brought into plots. Then you get
yeah,
in the new era, you do use the skills someone's got, but
mm,
usually you see them in their everyday life, like Rose with the department store. You can see her what she does when she gets to the other planet. She's lost, she's confused. Like whereas uh, Belle here, kind of like I like the fact that as soon as she got there, her training kicked in. That's like
yeah,
someone's hurt. It doesn't matter what time I'm in, what place, what anyone else. My driving factor is someone's hurt and they need help. Fuck this doctor guy. Fuck the fact that he's taken me away from my time and space. That is the most
mhm.
important thing right now. And I better check his shoulders in the right place. That was a nice extra little thing. And it's just such an economical way of explaining to someone else,
Yeah,
showing that
really good.
they can get on with it, like you said. It's just great.
Yeah, really strong character introduction to her, and it's nice to throw something like that at the Doctor because you watch him and he's going through his usual spiel like, oh, it's bigger on the inside and it travels through time, and you know, these are the lines that usually work on a companion. You have that
Yeah.
going all the way back to Rose, that great moment where the TARDIS disappears, then it comes back and he goes, "Did I mention it travels through time?" And just the joy on her face as she runs into the TARDIS, you know. But it's like, so the Doctor's kind of like, "Oh, that hasn't worked." And now, are we giving this too
And
much credit now? But is that almost like a meta commentary on not coercive control, but on male
I was just thinking that.
expectations
I
of,
was thinking a
you
little
know,
bit like, because I think
you know,
maybe. Oh, sorry.
yeah, it's like this is a guy who is used to, I know they're not pickup lines, but he's used to his lines working on young women, and they don't, you know. And is it a coincidence that that's in an episode that's about coercive control? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm
Well,
reading too much into it.
when you were saying it, the first thing I thought before you made that excellent point was the fact that, oh, I wonder actually, because she's very kind of like quick to not fall for, as much as we love the Doctor, he's got some bullshit about him. And I think what
Mm,
this brings in nicely is the fact that if a good guy doesn't ask questions, that's how you become the bad guy. I feel like, when we see someone acting in a way we don't like, the worst thing you can do is going like, oh well, thank God I'm nothing like that person. In no way, shape, or form am I like that person. Better thing you can do is going, well, I'm not. I've never done what that person's done. That's evil. Like the fact they go that far. But it's like, is there anything I'm doing that's unhealthy that kind of like is in any way like, is there any small like acts of kind of chauvinism, of kind of things which I've been brought up with to accept that I need to, do you know what I mean? It's like, I think that's a
mm,
much better way of doing it. And I think this is the Doctor being faced with that, the fact he's never questioned the way he is around his companions. Like you say, oh God, I'll just show them my I mean, it is a bit, I'll just show them my sports car and they'll be impressed. There is a little bit of that to what the Doctor does,
yeah,
and
and
this upends that, makes him question himself, which is a good thing for all of us to do. I think I like that idea.
definitely, and I like that because even though this is the 15th Doctor, the whole by generation and him shedding the baggage and everything, in a lot of ways, this is a younger Doctor than we've seen in a
Yes.
long time. And so having someone who will challenge him, I think, could make for a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and I think definitely there's, yeah, on the other end of the scale, to like the other side of the coin, sorry, to what you're saying, is that I think definitely the reason, yeah, again, I didn't think this time, but I'm thinking of now in our conversation, is that she is more kind of switched on, less likely to just jump in the TARDIS with the Doctor,
Mm,
because she's asking questions based on the past with guys like this wanker. So that is very nice. And again, yeah, I will give, again, I've got to give so much credit to all this stuff I'm only picking up later. It just needed to hit better on the first watch. All this
mm.
layered in stuff, it's very clever. And again, I should know RTD's put stuff in there I won't get straight away necessarily. But yeah, I needed to be a bit tighter on the first showing anyway. Let's get through some of these notes. If anyone could be the right stuff. Yeah, we got the right stuff about the Doctor, not blindly trusting her. Oh yeah, yeah. Again, I don't want to go into this too much because we talked about it quite a bit, but it's like Doctor's emotions. He seems a bit kind of like, I get they're showing the idea that he can express his emotions, but then he's got to move on. But it just seems a bit I don't know. I feel like they've got to. I like the intent of what RTD's doing there, but just the execution I think could be a bit slicker. And you've got to have a right way of the Doctor doing it so that I feel like the moment where you have Belinda's pulling him away because he's having an emotional moment.
Mm.
When you're a captain of a ship, like they did it in Discovery for Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
which we talked about, and it's like, I get it. We want to show a more emotional character, captain, sorry, one which is in touch with her crew. But if she's crying on the bridge during an emergency, you're not fit to command. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, that's a necessity to the job that you've got to be able to rein in. So you can show the Doctor doing that, but you can't have him doing it in an emergency situation because he's not the Doctor anymore. He can't do what the Doctor
and
does.
and it has become a cliche already that the Doctor cries every episode now.
Yeah.
and it's like it will not have the impact if he cries every single episode. It will become farcical, and there'll be memes and games and stuff. What'll make the Doctor cry this week? You know,
Yeah, and
it's
like you were saying before, give us the ammo against dickheads who are on the wrong side of history. If you do what they've accused you of doing all these years of hammering them over the head, and you actually are hammering them over the head, it's harder to, like, we
and
know where they're
also,
wrong, but yeah,
and it nullifies a bit of the drama as well, because it's like, oh my god, that must have been a big moment if the Doctor cried. Like, nah, well, he cries every episode, so
exactly.
it's not
Uh,
that much of an emotional moment.
they have the X-ray blanket. I did like when the X-ray blanket they use on the
Days of
recorders.
Banker was cool.
It goes padum dum, padum padum. Very 15th Doctor, very nice.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, Planet looked a little, kind of to my point before. Some of the stuff is starting to look just a bit samey. So the Planet looked a bit Gallifrey, a bit Scarrow, and New Who.
Mm-hmm.
Just again, I think they. I'm not saying to get rid of, like, Millennium Effects are amazing, and when they did get rid of them during the end of halfway through Chibnall's era, you could see the drop in quality. I'm sorry, you just could. No offense to that production house, but it just didn't look as good. I think you need new ideas in Millennium Effects, because their effects look amazing, but the stuff just looks too similar. There's having a star, and then it's also having every planet look the same. Like the Cybermen and the Daleks don't look alike. If you start having everything looking like, how does that alien come back?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this looks like what we had last week. Anyway, time dilation. So it was 2 hours for Bell, 6 months for the Doctor. We've kind of already gone through that. Oh, the Schwupp was a very nice one. Just again, nice little fun things. They're great. Like, I don't mind whimsy. I'm all for it. We have the TARDIS, and again, TARDIS gets taken away from the Doctor Sodes of Sonic, so no distinct outfit. So again, all these hallmarks of Doctor Who are nowhere in this episode, or very little. We went through Manny. So the map, or the star certificate, it went 5,000 years. Is it in the future? I put in the past in this earlier note, but I realised he said the future later.
Yeah, that was the bit that they didn't explain, wasn't it? They went like, but wait a minute, how did the robots get it in the first place? They're like, oh, we don't know.
Why wouldn't they? Because, well, earlier on, I've written down 5,000 years in the past, which I heard it, but I think they say in the future. I think it's 5,000 years in the future, and it's like,
no, I think
they went back in the past.
Yeah, the robots got the certificate at some undisclosed point in the future and went 5,000 years back into their past, and it became like a creation myth.
Oh, I thought, I got that. I just thought the map had gone those 5,000 years. So somewhere they get on the map, but it's like, to be honest,
we don't know when they get it, and I feel like that's been deliberately left up in the air.
But can I just question this though? It's like, why couldn't they? Like, we know it's gone through time to some time.
Yeah,
and they in it. So why is it? Oh my god, when did they get it? It's like, why does that matter?
It doesn't matter.
There's no mystery about them picking something up that arrives in a time hole in their time.
The only reason it matters is if it's going to tie into something later in the season.
That's fine.
If it doesn't, then it's just sloppy writing, and there was absolutely no reason not to show a scene going, this is when they got it.
But if it does, it's still sloppy writing, because at this moment, why is the Doctor considering that a mystery when it is a mystery yet? If it later becomes a mystery, why is he now saying that?
It is a mystery to the Doctor at the minute, because he doesn't know when they got it, whereas he knows he knows when they got her and when they got Alan and why they got her and why they got Alan. But he doesn't know what started the whole cycle. He doesn't know at what point. Because the inciting incident of the whole time loop is the robots getting that that certificate, but we don't know how or why or when
I agree,
that happened.
Okay, maybe you're seeing something I'm not. I still don't get why that. So why does the when and where matters? Like, there has to be a reason why he cares about, like, because all he has to know is it went through. just to like complete the thought. Like he went through. All he knows is he knows it's gone through time. He knows they picked it up at some point. When, like, why does when kind of become relevant? And like, if they tied it in, so they're gone, right? Why does this fracture in space time do this? Like, if they'd suggest that the map being found somehow caught, like if they tied it back that there is a mystery the Doctor has to solve, but I don't know why there's a mystery over. Why is that a mystery? It doesn't matter. Like it went into the future, so they grabbed it. Like you could surmise what happened. You
you can. But they made a point of him saying we don't know where they got this from, so that's obviously going to be a thing. But yes, I take your point as to why does he care.
That's kind of my point. Yeah, very much better point.
Because it's at some point they got this thing and it went back in time, but we don't really need to know why. But anyway, no doubt it'll be Sutek. Sutek put it there.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, it's like, yes, and a knife went through time, and then Doctor Squee was mind controlled and he stabbed someone. Like, we saw it out in mind control, but when did he get the knife? Like, who gives a shit? Like, he went through the time, he picked it up prior to doing that instant. Like, as long as there's no other stabbings you're trying to sort out, you don't need to know the year. I'm not going to stab anyone, by the way, just to make this really clear. It was just a random example. Okay, it went to Jack the Ripper, not to Dr. Squee. Okay, just feel like I'm incriminating myself in crimes which haven't happened, as far as you know. Fuck hell, there's a stabbing in the Southampton Romsey area. I'm such shit right now. This is just so criminal.
Yeah, you really are. Yeah, I might have to edit this one.
Yeah. Well, we know I'm in the shit then because I can't be asked to edit this. I'm having a wonderful conversation and they can have it all. Oh god, why does this keep on losing my place on this? Adolescent, we've raised that point. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. 5,000 years, robots up 10 years. So robots turned on human 10 years ago. That's a nice mystery. I like the fact that, we don't know when he arrived. I think that's kind of blended quite nicely. That's like a good one. Love the robots is giving stuff away every 9th word. Oh yeah, so like Daniel, who turns out to the robot, like the fact that he's also giving stuff away every 9 words. I honestly didn't see that coming. That wasn't a signposted. It was kind of nice little reveal there. I sort of didn't get that he was Daniel until just like the problem was that whole scene took too long. So you worked like they basically revealed to us there was Daniel about
Alan.
10 minutes before Alan. Sorry, Alan, that was it. They revealed he was Alan about 5 minutes before they did the reveal. So it's like you've given me enough. I've worked it out already. It's like
just in terms of design and everything, I thought the reveal was great when it opened up. It gave me real Superman 3 vibes, when she gets anyone of a certain age will know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was terrifying in Superman 3. And I thought this was a pretty scary looking Doctor Who villain when we got the reveal of what he looked like.
Nice picture of being scary, but not being like kind of like I feel like if not the youngest of young kids, but a fairly young kid was even the youngest of young kids. It's scary enough without being like complete nightmare feel. It's a perfect.
It shouldn't haunt your dreams, but scary enough. Yeah,
maybe give you one nightmare, not a series thereof.
Yeah,
that's where you want a Doctor Who baddie to be. But yeah, I just felt I'd already got it. Like it seemed to be tight for it to be like that reveal. That reveal was so good, it should have been a reveal to us, and then you explain why and go, that's really clever. Like I would have felt explaining afterwards would have been, I didn't pick up all that because there was a load of stuff which they slipped in there very nicely, whereas other episodes they have not done that as well. So they should have made the most of that, I felt. And there's a bit felt they needed to have Bell. Oh yeah, because Bell, like until this moment where she suddenly decides to sacrifice herself to marry the guy as the queen. She at no points like tries to use her queen powers. It's almost like I feel like because that's
Yeah.
what it seems to begin with. It's like, well, they're saying she's the queen, they're saying the ropes are in charge, but that feels a bit muddied as to where the hierarchy was. I was worried actually at the end of the episode, then she'd say she's the queen, they bow down to her. It's like she could have done that the whole time. That would have been annoying. But I sort of wanted her to establish that she can't use those powers. Like that's the first thing I would have done. If you're going, oh, here's the king, like the ropes are like, wait a minute, so do I outrank them or not? Like that seems relevant. Would you not ask?
Yeah, the power hierarchy wasn't always quite clear. So it was like, well, the AI's in charge, but no, the robots are in charge, but you're the queen, and yeah, so it was never.
And when you question,
What's that?
and wouldn't that then lead you to
Yeah.
question or to try and use your queen powers?
You'd
Because
think
if she's
so.
queen in name, that really makes no sense of the guy being pissed off with them earlier. And why does it matter that you're queen if you've got fuck all power over anyone?
Yeah, no, it was a weird one, and yeah, and I didn't. I quite liked the idea of all the two things can't exist in the same space and time with the certificate, but I didn't
But
think
how
the
she
way.
asked about it earlier was ham-fisted.
Yeah, and the way they executed it was rubbish because it's like the doctor's like, I'm going to put it in the little robot. The little robot's going to slowly take it up to her. She's going to reach down, take it out in full view of everyone. Then she's going to walk forward and do the thing. It's like, did no one at any point think, right, it's blatantly obvious what they're doing here? Like, why did the doctor bother putting it in the rope? Why didn't he just walk up and go, here you are, love, and then she could go? Because it,
Because you
it,
had to get little fuck it on screen again because he's amazing and we love
yeah,
him and he's the best thing
but
ever.
I didn't mind him, but I do have an issue with something coming up. But yeah, so I thought that was the idea was okay, but the execution just looked silly because it looked like no one's trying to stop them from doing what they're blatantly about to do.
And while we're discussing mysteries, just before that, she goes, "Yeah, but I thought you went to Margate." He goes, "No, that was Stargate." First of all, what Stargate mean in this universe? Like what? Yeah. And secondly, how did she then hear about it as Margate? Like, how
Yeah,
did she get that? Makes no sense on any level. Stargate doesn't mean anything in this universe, and
yeah,
she'd have no reason to hear it, but
and
mishear it.
yeah, did he ring her up and go, they're taking me to a Stargate? Oh, you're off to Margate. Bye. Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't work. I think that was. Oh, maybe it's that RTD isn't that good at play on words. Sorry, it's just the owl things pissed me off.
Yeah, maybe it happens later. Maybe because we did see him as a
he's a
boy, older and younger, and the doctor said
yeah,
we go way back. So I think there is going to be some stuff where you see them younger somehow, because there was too
maybe
many ages of people who seem to be the guy, Alan and Belinda. They
yeah.
seem to be various ages.
And apologies, it is just the AI Al thing that's annoyed me. RTD is a greater wordsmith than I could ever
Oh, he's
hope
a
to even
wordsmith, but not an anachronist.
dream of being. So I'm not meaning to have a go there. Right, and then the
Yeah.
other thing. So after we do that, your mate the vacuum comes and vacuums him up, and
Oh
this
yeah.
bit didn't sit right with me because you've literally got the doctor dancing on the grave of his enemy who's just been vacuumed up and laughing, and I'm like,
Yeah, go on.
oh, okay, he wasn't a nice guy, but the doctor is not someone who gloats and
Thank you.
laughs over the death of
Yes.
his enemy. Like, I didn't like that.
No, this is like right. Like you can have funny little moments, but that is saying something about the character of the doctor. I'm sorry, it's like you can't have a joke and just say, well, it doesn't matter because it was a joke. But it's like the doctor wasn't joking. The doctor was laughing at, like you say, that person being hoovered up. It's like when you have the doctor during Capaldi's era. I like the fact they had the dark age, but they learned as they went that they went too dark too early because like they had
Mm,
one stage, guy got killed. He's going, it's like he's in the dark. He's going, it's like. Oh, God, do you not even care about Jimmy or whatever the guy's name is? Like, oh, if you look in the top layer there, he's still there, and this goop of like human remains that the Daleks using as fuel. It's like that's not the Doctor anymore. Like, and when the Doctor's sort of taking the piss out of Mickey to win favor with Rose to the point where he's got him stunned there pressing button and he's just openly laughing at him. So the Doctor's a bully. Do you know what I mean? Those moments really piss me off because the Doctor is my role model, whether it's a he, she, they, I don't care. That's my role model. Ncuti, I see as a role, as much as any of them. And he's a younger guy than me. And like, that doesn't, nothing changes that based on who he is. But like, bits like that always rankles me because it's like,
it just didn't fit. The Doctor celebrating a victory and doing a dance feels very 15th Doctor, but the fact that he's doing it literally on the grave of his enemy, just no, that's just not right.
Even if you play it lightly and going, no, just even like you can play it for a little laugh as long as he's appalled in the laugh.
Yes,
and not happy.
or
at least he knows he couldn't stop it. And, at least just not celebrating, just anything but celebrating.
Yeah, that just did not sit right with me at all. But and unlike a lot of the stuff that we've said, well, maybe this is something they're going to explore. I don't think this is to set anything up. I don't think it's to say anything more profound about this version of the Doctor. I think they just thought, that'll be a funny ending to the scene, which I think RTD usually shows a bit more care and a bit more respect to the character of the Doctor than to do that. But didn't care for that.
Because generally it was kind of, again, like to speak to the incel guy, like the fact they showed him just being back there in the past going, oh, I just get to abuse the rules and just twist everything to be cool. Like, that felt like very natural and also does show what someone charismatic maybe kind of gets a position of power where he can just load the deck to everything he wants. I mean, I don't know. It's science fiction, obviously. It can never happen in the real world. But
absolutely not.
We could imagine it somehow. Some stuff, I must say, that RTD's put in there. Unfortunately, I think he might have seen some things where they were going. It just seems very, very prescient, a lot of the stuff which is in here, and I think he's called it very well. I think this is genuinely RTD calling what was going to happen, because he did a bit of that with Years and Years. If you've seen that, it's amazing. I'd highly recommend to anyone. He wasn't far off on a lot of stuff. I hope it doesn't all go down the way that show does, but he's very good at kind of seeing where things are going. We got Doctor being slightly too polished in his apology. We already discussed that. Bouncing off the date Mel is from, that's been used before as well. We've seen that. Having there's a few other bits, but definitely having the bit where you've got the calendar page and the certificate going past the in space past the camera. That's a bit fucking on the nose, mate.
Yeah, and it all felt a bit forced. Like, well, why don't you go back the day after or the day before? And that feels like the sort of question she would have asked. Like, how we've established this character so far, we've established that she's not having any of the Doctor's usual bullshit. So why doesn't she say, well, drop me off the day before and I'll go see my sister, and then I'll go back, and you know what, I'll just go sit in the park for a day. I'll drop me off day after. I'll have only missed one day's work. It just seems silly that we didn't explore any other options there.
That's I mean, again, it's been used before, so for a start, just why I go back to saying, well, and it never really makes any sense. Like, how can you say what? Is it that town? Is it for that year? Is it for that day? Is it for her lifetime? Do you know what I mean? It's like, where does that stop? Just saying it doesn't really actually tell us.
Yeah.
And again, once you can sort of use a bit of artistic license, go, oh, okay, they can't return it. We get they're saying that once maybe, but the fact they've done it before and it doesn't really make any sense. That's when you go, it's like, oh, come on, we let you off with it once.
And then we get that shot of Oh, we've got all. So presumably we're being led to believe that the Earth has been destroyed, and so we're doing a classic RTD. The entire universe is going to be destroyed at the end of the season thing. Which, fair enough. You gotta have big stakes, but
No,
so
you
the
haven't. You have personal stakes. Sorry.
I know you can, but I think we have to accept that he does this. This is how his season finales go.
Sorry.
But it's a little bit annoying that already episode 1. Yep, we're doing that again. But anyway, world's been destroyed. Somehow we've got the Statue of Liberty and the Eiffel Tower and all these identifiable landmarks all mushed together. Like that must have been some explosion for only the things that we recognise to drift together. And
And the
also,
calendar page. Fucking calendar
and the
page. What
calendar page.
destroys a planet and doesn't destroy a calendar
And
page?
also, last time we checked, the Statue of Liberty was a weeping angel, so presumably that's now loose in the universe. But anyway,
Right,
this
it had to
felt,
get there somehow. It has to leave here somehow. So
yeah. So we're obviously, I
Sorry,
don't,
you've just made the Statue of Liberty the most believable thing that's floating in space. Because if it's a weeping angel, I'd buy that it might be able to survive the destruction of a planet. You've
well,
actually
that's
just
it
tried that
now,
one.
and
That
now
one.
the planet's exploding. It exploded. Nobody's looking at it, and it can move freely wherever it wants now. But yeah, so clearly, hopefully, we'll have it subverted a little bit, and it won't just be a destruction of the world season finale. Just because we've seen it a lot, you know.
I just say because I mean, yeah, I agree with you, and for me, it's like not only have we I just want personal say I want an adventure of a week. Like just do that for a while. Just have fun having adventures of the week.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit more substance to them sometimes because I miss that. I think RTD is very good at doing the whole hey, here's why it's personal and why it matters to you. That's why Rose and having a family in it.
Yes.
Even though I didn't I think the soap opera got a bit too much sometimes, but I get why they did it. It brought it to the masses, and that's fine. It was enough about Doctor Who in it that I loved that was there still.
Yeah.
But I do like when Moffat came in, he expanded out and made it a bit more complex. I think there was a kind of sweet spot. Then
There was.
Moffat got over complicated. I don't like there was a sweet spot in the middle of that. Anyway, I digress. My main point is but like you say, it's like even within the fact that they're going to do world-ending stakes, whereas you could have a perfectly personal stakes episode of why it matters, much like the what was 42 yards, whatever it was called, where you got a certain distance. Even that one felt personal to Ruby. It was about her, really. Like it did have big stakes for the planet, but it was about her being tortured. That's why that episode was cool. And it was a really good episode, apart from again, just the logic of it just to get explained. Whereas when you had Amy Pond and you had the destruction of the world, but the whole thing was based around her and people disappearing around her. So even though it was a galactic scale, it was personal because it was about Amy Pond and why is everyone disappearing around her. So it did a sort of a good job of doing best of both worlds. RTD just wants to go, it's like, no, this time the universe is really going to explode. And it's like, what? Like last time? No, but this is a god. But it's like, yeah, but we've done the god. Oh, yeah, but it's the end of time. Yeah, all right. I mean, just still the same thing, really. Just give me something or at least give me a reason why this is personal to that one person, not about
And
the.
I'll absolutely hand it to him though. Like, even though at the minute I'm like, I really don't want to see another end of the world season finale. I don't think he's ever missed completely when he's done it, and I've never watched one of them and not got excited in the moment watching them. Like, I think he's really good at, even though it verges on cheese at times, he's really good at making them involving and exciting. But it's kind of like disposable calories. It's like it's fun to consume it in the moment, but there's nothing more to it. I think sometimes.
Well, it's like I mean, the amount of episodes there are definitely some episodes from season one which I know I haven't yet, apart from watching a few times when they were on, especially when we were talking about them. I haven't rewatched any of them, but I know there's some which I would revisit. As I say, the 72 yard, or sorry, 42 yards. I think it's 42 anyway, because it's the Douglas Adams reference, I think. But anyway, that boom. Oh, sorry, 73 yards. Pardon me, I've got a little light thing on the side. There's certain ones. Don Bubble. Yeah, there's something in all those. Rogue, probably less. I thought Rogue was just a poor man's Captain Jack. I'm sorry, and I just didn't like. That's amazing. In there, he was in Hamilton. He's great. Roger something. Goff. Anyway, him. He's great, but I just think he was just quiet and broody, and that was about it. And I just don't have a lot of time for period dramas, and that seemed like a direct period drama character. So I'm not, but for the most part, you're right. They're usually there'll be something I'll get from each of those episodes. Even the Sutek bullshit with the anagram, I'll take something from those Sutek episodes. When it was 13th Doctor, there's quite a few which I find it very hard to like. I started rewatching and I just got a couple episodes in. I was like,
I've not.
There's nothing
to, I've not gone back to any of them, I must admit. I think thinking back on it, the one that I remember being pretty good was it called Demons of the Punjab? I remember that one.
That one I liked, and I liked
being a strong episode.
Rosa episode.
Yeah,
they did restore it, I thought, pretty well. They had the one where it was like about the first one I thought was there were moments which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, there were
episodes I really enjoyed, but like there's a whole chunks of her seasons I would just never have any interest in watching. I probably will at some point, but just it's not gonna.
Like I didn't read a lot of it, but I saw an article that mentioned something like, "Oh, is the Flux gonna tie into this season?" And I thought, I hope not, because I don't want to have to rewatch that.
Yeah, I mean, Flux was probably stronger, but
I thought it started well, and then the last couple lost me. But I thought like the first three were pretty good. Anyway.
I mean, don't even start me on the Doctor spending all that time going on one like particular mission was to find her lost memories and then flush it into the TARDIS. Fuck off. Anyway, but yes, you're right. Sorry, that was my long ass way of saying, as I do with everything, that I agree that by and large, pretty much RTD, most of them I'll want to rewatch again at some point. I'll get something from it in a way that I haven't. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say in some areas of like, I've just said it, the 13th Doctor. I'm sorry. I just didn't get a lot of that from a lot of those episodes. Just the writing. I don't think Jodie was badly cast. I didn't have a problem with the female Doctor. It was just the writing. I just didn't think was as strong, and it copied too many themes we'd already seen. Even worse than I think RTD's doing in some cases here. But anyway, dude, I think with 2 hours, we've covered that one niftily, and we've talked about some broader themes as we tend to on the first episode.
We have.
So next week we should be back down to an hour.
That's it. Now we've done our thesis on the state of Doctor Who and indeed the world and Russell T Davies, I think could be more focused in future. But
Jim, if you fancy joining me sometime next weekend, please do, and I'll see if we can grab another friend, another companion on the journey of Doctor Who. But for now, I have been Dr. Squee, and that was the beginning of season 2 of Doctor Who here on Gallifrey Stands. With me has been
Captain Jim.
And it looks like I'm pointing at 7-9. She's also here. But somewhere over there is Dr. Dottie Who. Dottie Who? God, that is going back. Sorry. Woo! Dottie Who RIP. Anyway. That's been Gallifrey Stands. I think our brains have melted, but in a world where you can be truly anything, live like you've got 2 hearts, and please, like the Doctor, be kind. We will see you next time.